Listen, I'm going to be honest with you. What you're about to discover will rewire the way you perceive every human interaction for the rest of your life. Your dad didn't show it to you. Your teachers didn't even have the courage. And most men, they'll die not seeing it at all. This isn't motivational BS. This isn't positive thinking. This is secret knowledge from centuries, buried behind veils of politeness, religion, and false morality. More than 500 years ago, a fellow by the name of Niccolò Machiavelli penned the most risky facts ever put to paper about human behavior. So risky, the Catholic Church prohibited his book. So true that all world leaders today read it behind closed doors, while outwardly acting as if it's immoral. But this isn't speculation. This is the user guide for the way people really function. Not as we want them to work, not as they claim to work, but as they actually operate behind the facade. You didn't know this because society conditioned you not to. We've been taught that knowing power will make you evil, that being strategic is manipulative, and that being able to perceive reality for what it is will make you cynical. But ignorance is not a virtue, it's a liability, and I'm going to make you cynical, powerful, and unshakable, because when you know the truth, you're a threat in the best sense of the word. Here's the first truth. Humans are not rational, they're emotional. The fallacy that humans rationally pursue what's in their best interest is one of the greatest tall tales ever. Humans shun pain, they pursue comfort. That's the actual algorithm. Machiavelli penned, "Men judge more by the eye than by the hand. For all can see, few can feel." In short, humans make decisions based on looks, not quality, and you observe daily. Your friend who asks for advice but ignores it because it's hard. Your co-worker who complains about being broke but buys Starbucks every morning. The woman who says she wants a kind man but always ends up with the one who treats her like an option. People aren't seeking truth, they're seeking emotional validation. So here's what that means for you. Logic doesn't win people. Emotions do. Don't attempt to reason someone into agreeing with you. Show them something that makes them feel good about themselves. That's influence. That's persuasion. You wish to lead people. Don't tell them what is right. Make them feel like choosing your side is who they wish to be. Most men waste their breath relying on facts when arguing. Alpha males, they know that emotion is the language of influence. The person who is able to make others feel what he would like them to feel will have the power in the room at all times, regardless of who possesses the facts. That's the first change. Ditch playing chess with facts and begin playing with emotional resonance. And yes, it does sound manipulative to those who remain in the fairy tale of fairness, but this isn't about manipulation, it's about effectiveness. And now, loyalty. You were likely brought up on the belief that loyalty is a virtue. Loyalty to your homies, loyalty to your corporation, loyalty to your woman, that it's a matter of honor. But this is what Machiavelli instructed, because love and fear can scarcely coexist. If we're forced to make a choice, it's much more secure to be feared than loved. See, that line cuts deep, because it reveals reality. Blind loyalty ain't strength, it's naivety, and naivety is weakness waiting to be used against you. That buddy who only calls when he wants something, that employer who informs you of your family until the next round of layoffs, that girlfriend who keeps you on hold while considering other alternatives. Any of those is not loyalty, that's one-way usage, and still providing your loyalty without return isn't heroic, it's stupid. Real men know this. Loyalty is not an automatic setting, it's a payoff for continual respect and value exchange. Be lavish with your loyalty, but as soon as it becomes unreciprocated, take it back immediately, because a man who gives and gives with no reciprocation isn't a hero, he's a stepping stone, and you weren't born to be stepped on. Make people feel the price of losing you. Inspire loyalty with being valuable and principled and not needy and compliant. Make them realize your presence is not owed, it's earned. The most successful men you know aren't blindly loyal, they're selectively loyal, and that's not heartless, that's smart. It's not about betraying others, it's about not betraying yourself. Now, consider your reputation. What did they teach you? Most likely that it's good to be liked, that everyone should think you're nice, that you must not create conflict, and that you must be agreeable. But Machiavelli knew better. Everybody perceives what you seem to be. Few people feel what you truly are. Reputation isn't about being liked, it's about being respected, and respect doesn't have much to do with niceness. There is this contemporary deceit that authenticity is sharing everything, that if others just knew the true you, they'd get it. But that's not power, that's open-ended. Strategic authenticity is what is needed. You control what people see. You manipulate perception, not by lying but by being purposeful. Because when it comes to human behavior, perception is reality. Want to be regarded as competent? Cease complaining about issues, offer solutions. Want to be regarded as valuable? Don't be available all the time. Scarcity generates demand. Want to be regarded as powerful? Stop explaining yourself to individuals who have no say in your trajectory. Mystery, consistency, and limited vulnerability. That is the recipe. That is how legends are created. Men with engineered personas are magnetic because individuals can't really grasp them, and that tension produces gravity. You were probably also taught to avoid conflict. Be peaceful, get along, don't make waves. But that kind of mindset is a setup for defeat. Machiavelli said it clearly. War cannot be avoided. It can only be postponed to the advantage of others. Conflict isn't a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And the man who's unprepared is already losing. Life is not neutral. There is always someone attempting to supplant you, outperform you, or take advantage of your doubt. In the corporate world, there is someone vying for your seat. In romance, there is someone coveting her attention. In social interactions, there is someone asserting themselves to push the limits. Don't go around looking for a fight, but do not be surprised when one looks for you. Be the man who is prepared for peace with war in mind. That's the guy nobody wants to test. That's the guy people find themselves naturally respecting sometimes, without even knowing why. The man who quietly prepared is the one who never has to prove himself. Be prepared. Create your worth when no one can see it. Grow your skills when you have no rivals. Save cash when you're wealthy. Get powerful when things are smooth. Be a lion with a fox's brain. The lion defends himself with strength. The fox defends himself with intelligence. One sees pitfalls, one frightens wolves. You have to be both. That's how you cease being prey and become a force. But here's the lie. Most men are still bound to just be nice and people will like you. That's what they were taught when they were little. Be a good sport. Be a team player. Don't stir up trouble. And perhaps, just perhaps, somebody will notice you for it. But here's the reality Machiavelli grasped, and it hurts. Being good and being nice are not equivalent. One requires approval, the other requires truth. Nice is simple. Nice is passive. Nice is doing what doesn't cause discomfort. It's saying yes when you can and should say no. It's silence where there should be conflict. It's accommodating others at the expense of your own principles. But goodness is something different. Goodness is doing what is right, no matter how difficult, no matter how unpopular, no matter how alone. You want to know why women say they want a nice guy, but consistently end up with the one who challenges them, ignores them, sometimes even disrespects them. It's because in their biology, they confuse niceness with weakness. They mistake agreeableness for security, and deep down they crave strength, not submission. A nice guy will bend over backward to stay away from conflict. He'll walk on eggshells trying to be liked. A good man, he'll speak uncomfortable truths. He'll maintain boundaries. He'll risk being misunderstood because his values are more important than being liked. And here's the punchline. People do not respect those who seek approval. They respect those who command it without pleading. Examine every great man in history. CEOs, presidents, soldiers, champions. Were they nice? Not as most people think of it. They weren't doormats. They weren't pushovers. But they weren't cruel either. They were fair, firm, centered. They didn't put up with nonsense, and they didn't fear rejection. They lived by their own code, not what the masses thought, and for that reason, they were followed. You can be kind without being nice. You don't have to be weak to be compassionate. There's great strength in stillness, in quiet dominance, in saying less and conveying more. Machiavelli once wrote, "Men are so simple and so much inclined to obey immediate needs that a deceiver will never lack victims." What does this mean? That the majority of people are moved by what's in front of them. They don't understand the patterns. They don't challenge motives. They follow instinct. They are easy targets for those who do see, but not you, because now you notice the coded language in the words. You notice action, not words. Patterns, not commitments. That girl who tells you she respects honesty, but covers up her phone. That boss who compliments you, but doesn't give you a promotion. That friend who's with you until you tell them no. People unveil themselves through behavior, not intent. Most simply don't want to believe it. And here is where the transformation occurs. Once you actually begin to watch reality as it is, not as you'd like it to be, you become empowered, not the boisterous, self-aggrandizing kind, but subtle, strategic power, the kind which doesn't require approval because it moves with assurance. You cease running after and instead attract. You cease asking and instead determine. From this point forward, you live by a new code, one that does not depend on the approval of society or antiquated chivalry, one that knows perception is a weapon, loyalty is relative, feelings dictate behavior, and violence is inevitable. And now you're equipped. This information does not make you merciless. It makes you ready. It makes you thoughtful. And most important, it makes you a man who acknowledges what others are too scared to look at. There's a reason that the masses are taught fairy tales and niceties, because predictable men are easy to control. They conform. They obey. They apologize for their masculinity. They neuter their ambition in the name of acceptance, and they never realize they're living in chains. But a man who thinks strategically, who sees clearly, that man is a threat to any system built on obedience. That's why Machiavelli was feared. That's why his book was banned. Because it didn't just teach power, it revealed the illusion used to manipulate people. So you want to be respected. Learn how to say no without shame. Want to be valuable? Stop giving yourself away for free. Want to be desired? Be scarce. Want to be remembered? Talk less. Move with purpose and never beg for attention. The greatest weapon you will ever possess is self-control. Not money, not charm, not brute force, but the ability to govern your own impulses in a world addicted to indulgence. While others react, you respond. While others chase, you attract. While others obey, you choose. You see, most people live reactively. They're emotional pinballs, hopping from stimulus to stimulus. They respond to drama. They overshare. They freak out. They need immediate comfort. That's how easy you are to read, to manipulate, to predict, but not you. Because once you master yourself, you're unreadable. And in a world hooked on attention and validation, mystery is power. There's a reason powerful men don't overshare. There's a reason they don't post every thought, every move, every feeling. Because control over your words is control over your image, and your image is the doorway to your influence. Speak when it's valuable, act when it's necessary. Reveal only what enhances your position. This doesn't mean being cold. It means being calculated, strategic. It means thinking in terms of outcomes instead of emotions. Each action, a chess move, not a roll of the dice. Each conversation, a chance to place yourself in strength and clarity. This is not manipulation. It's mastery. The world is already mastered at this game. Most of them just don't know it. They're being manipulated. They're living scripts written by marketers, algorithms, and inherited assumptions. And they wonder, in the midst of it all, why life feels fixed. Because it is. But you don't have to be a pawn. You don't have to continue living blindfolded. When you learn to recognize the patterns, how and what people think, what they react to, what influences their choices, you start writing your own rules. You become active, not passive, controlled, instead of being in control. This kind of transformation will not make you louder. It will make you quieter, more concentrated, more accurate. Because when you get what the real mechanics of power are, you no longer waste time proving yourself to people who aren't even listening. You no longer have to win arguments. You no longer have to be loved. You just are steady, firm, unshakable. And when that occurs, individuals begin to respond to you differently. They lean in when they talk to you. They hesitate before disrespecting you. They wonder what you are thinking. You no longer pursue approval. You command respect, not through force, through presence, through energy, through reputation. And this reputation isn't one you beg for. It's one that you construct through action, through consistency, through saying no more times than you say yes. You're not famous for what you say, but for the way you move. And when others can't anticipate you, they begin to respect you. You don't need to establish your value when your aura speaks for you. That's what Machiavelli understood. That's what every strategic thinker has always understood. Influence is not yelling. It's about structuring perception. It's not about being heard. It's about being felt. You can't pretend. You get it by living with discipline, with clarity, and with vision. By not responding to every insult, not responding to every challenge, not pursuing every opportunity. You learn to wait, to observe, to act when it serves you, and to walk away when it doesn't. Because ultimately, the most influential man in the room isn't the loudest. It's the one who doesn't need to prove a damn thing. That sort of presence isn't the product of pretending to be somebody you're not. It's the product of being crystal clear on exactly who you are and not willing to betray that for anybody. When you're rooted in yourself, when your values aren't negotiable, you become unmovable. People sense that. They might not get it on a conscious level, but they feel it. They react to it because confidence is subtle and insecurity is verbal. The world has its fill of men who beg to be liked, of men wearing down their roughness to be acceptable, of men trading themselves away for fleeting validation. What it does not have, what it so desperately needs, are men who will not play that game. Men who are gentle but not obedient. Men who are open but not susceptible to exploitation. Men who understand the battlefield for what it is and select their battles with discrimination. And that's where it all comes full circle. You were taught life is fair, that if you're good you'll be rewarded, that if you work hard, people will notice, that if you love purely, you'll be loved back. But Machiavelli dispelled those delusions centuries ago. Life doesn't reward goodness, it rewards strategy. The world doesn't follow justice, it follows power. And power isn't always loud or flashy. Sometimes it's the quiet certainty of a man who knows his own value and will not let the world cheapen it. Power is choosing your standards and sticking to them even when it costs you, especially when it costs you. It's walking away from anything that doesn't serve your purpose. It's feeling okay by yourself because you know that being alone is preferable to selling chunks of your soul just to be accepted. That's the type of man who inspires loyalty, not the man who satisfies everyone, but the man who lives in accordance ruthlessly. And when you do that, something amazing happens. People respect you. They might not always agree with you. They might push back, but they'll never question if you're for real. Because most men buckle under pressure. Most men apologize for occupying space. Most men'd rather be comfortable than respected, but not you. Because now you know that greatness has an enemy called comfort. The peace that is not strong is merely the calm before the tempest. You've realized now that the world is not indifferent, that there is always someone observing, judging, positioning, that human action is not haphazard. It's patterned, emotional, calculated. And once you get mastery over yourself, you start to win the game. You cease reacting to life and you start moving with intention. That's the key. Control over others begins with control over yourself. Because the truth is, everyone's playing a game, even the ones who pretend they're not. The ones who say, "I just want to be myself," are often the most controlled by others. The ones who claim they don't care about influence are usually the most desperate to fit in. But now you don't have to pretend, because see, you get it. You're no longer playing checkers in a chessboard world. This doesn't make you manipulative. It makes you ready, strategic, awake. The kind of man who isn't swayed by every temptation, who isn't destroyed by every defeat, who isn't determined by what other people think. You've moved beyond that. You no longer have to run after power. You've become it, not in domination, but in consciousness, not in other people's control, but in your own control. That is what real masculinity is. Strength with purpose, vision with restraint, fire with restraint. It's not about being feared in a comic book sense. It's about being respected in a sense that people feel it to their marrow. When you enter a room, your presence reorients the energy, not because you insisted on it, but because you've worked for it. You talk less, but what you say bites deeper. You don't seek attention, but it seeks you out nonetheless. You're not boisterous, but you are irrevocably present. This is what they never said. This is why so many men are lost. They've been taught to deny their power, to distrust their gut, to be ashamed for desiring control of their lives. But Machiavelli did not write for the weak. He did not write for the compliant. He wrote for the brave who dare to look, the brave who dare to question, the brave who dare to lead. And now you're one of them. You realize now that humans are not rational, they are emotional. That loyalty without return is weakness. That reputation is your best tool. That war is not something you don't do, it's something you train for. That nice is not good, and good is not weak. You realize that goodness and strength are not antithetical to one another. They are brothers. That power is neutral. It's not evil. It's how you use it that makes you you. You've been gifted something that the majority of men will never be: clarity. Clarity regarding the nature of man. Clarity regarding yourself. Clarity regarding the game that's always being played beneath the surface. And with that comes accountability, because now you can no longer bluff. You can no longer play dumb. You can no longer sleepwalk through life. You've awakened, and that means your decisions are more meaningful. Now your silence will mean more. Your presence will impact more. Your choices will matter more. That is the weight of knowing, and also its strength. Because from this day on, you'll never be invisible again. You'll never be passive again. You'll never be ignored again. They said it was better to be loved, but now you know it is better to be feared if you can't be both. Not the fear of intimidation, but the fear of consequence, the fear of principle, the fear of strength, the type of fear that says to people, I'm not to be messed with, I'm not to be played with, I'm not to be used. That type of fear is respect, and respect is the medium of exchange of true influence. This is what makes the 1% different from everyone else. Not money, not talent, not even intelligence, but foresight, a profound, unshakable knowledge of people, an ability to put off gratification, a pitiless clarity about what is important and what isn't, a determination to stop living life as a response. These are the habits of power. You weren't ever meant to know this. That's the truth. You were meant to be predictable, meant to be controllable, meant to remain soft. But you didn't. You broke the script. You read the forbidden book. You read the warning, and read anyway. Now the door is open, and if this awakened something in you, something old, something strong, then don't hold back here, because we're only just beginning. There's a whole world below the surface, where influence isn't spoken of. It's exercised, where words aren't hurled. They're precision crafted, where approval isn't implored. It's secured with accuracy. I likely shouldn't have been teaching you this, but here we are. If you're ready to dive in deeper, if you're ready to open up the psychological models that make individuals desperate to gain your approval, then continue. But I'm going to warn you now, once you look, there is no turning back. The rabbit hole doesn't stop where you believe it does. It continues, and only those who are willing to get unshakable will make it through the fall. But you were made